Okay, all right. So today we're going to be doing Majjhima Nikaya 48, Kosambiya Sutta, the Kosambiyans. Thus have I heard on one occasion the Blessed One was living at Kosambi in Gosita's park. Now on that occasion the bhikkhus at Kosambi had taken to quarreling and brawling and were deep in disputes, stabbing each other with verbal daggers. They could neither convince each other nor be convinced by others. They could neither persuade each other nor be persuaded by others. You know, I just realized when I read this that it gives me this image. It says here, had taken to quarreling and brawling. It's almost like they had taken up like boxing or something. Can you imagine like monks in like, I don't know if that actually happened, but in any case, this is the big Kosambiyan intrigue, right? This is what happened where there was a small disagreement on certain rule of the Vinaya, which was so minuscule, and it became such a big thing. It was such a hullabaloo of something, and you know, it just became like where people were both sides. There was like. So then a certain bhikkhu went to the Blessed One and after paying homage to him, he sat down at one side and informed him of what was happening. Then the Blessed One addressed a certain bhikkhu thus, "Come, bhikkhu, tell those bhikkhus in my name that the teacher calls them." "Yes, Venerable Sir," he replied. And he went to those bhikkhus and told them, "The teacher calls the Venerable Ones." "Yes, friend," they replied. And they went to the Blessed One, and after paying homage to him, they sat down at one side. The Blessed One then asked them, "Bhikkhus, is it true that you have taken to quarreling and brawling, deep in disputes, stabbing each other with verbal daggers, that you can neither convince each other nor be convinced by others, that you can neither persuade each other nor be persuaded by others?" "Yes, Venerable Sir." "Bhikkhus, what do you think when you take to quarreling and brawling and are deep in disputes, stabbing each other with verbal daggers? Do you on that occasion maintain acts of loving kindness by body, speech, and mind in public and in private towards your companions in the holy life?" Now, I'm kind of surprised by this sutta because there's a sutta with a similar kind of beginning, which talks about this Kosambiyan conflict that happens. And there the Buddha tries to bring peace to both factions. And they basically say, you know, leave us alone, we'll do it ourselves. That's basically what happens. And the Buddha is like, all right, that's fine. I'll just take my robe and bowl and go somewhere else. And the townspeople of Kosambiya were very upset by that. And they refused to actually give the monks any alms, because they essentially drove the Buddha away. So I'm kind of surprised by this particular situation where there are actually people listening to the Buddha in this case. In any case, so he says, "Because when you take to quarreling and brawling and are deep in disputes, stabbing each other with verbal daggers, on that occasion you do not maintain acts of loving kindness by body, speech, and mind in public and in private towards your companions in the holy life. Misguided men," that's a big one, "what can you possibly know? What can you see that you take to quarreling and brawling and are deep in disputes, stabbing each other with verbal daggers, that you can neither convince each other nor be convinced by others, that you can neither persuade each other nor be persuaded by others? Misguided men, that will lead to your harm and suffering for a long time." Then the Blessed One addressed the bhikkhus thus, "Because there are these 6 principles of cordiality that create love and respect and conduce to cohesion, to non-dispute, to concord, and to unity. What are the 6? Here, a bhikkhu maintains bodily acts of loving kindness, both in public and in private, towards his companions in the holy life. This is a principle of cordiality that creates love and respect and conduces to cohesion, to non-dispute, to concord, and to unity." So bodily acts of loving kindness. So what could those be? You know, that could be sharing your food. That could be opening the door for someone. That could be anything. I mean, if you're among family members and close friends, giving them a pat on the back when they're doing something great, saying, hey, that's great. Giving them a hug when they need a hug, whatever it might be. These are all acts of loving kindness. And this is something that we should be aware of. Can we be able to bring out loving kindness through our actions, through whatever it is? Among our friends, we may decide, like, we know this particular friend enjoys this particular snack. So when we're out, we think about that friend and we see the snack and we say, let me buy this for them. That's an act of loving kindness. That's an act of gratitude. That's an act of generosity. Any kind of thing like that. You think about how a mother thinks about her children, right? She goes out. I know for me, in case of my mom, even if I tell her, no, don't bring anything, I'm not really hungry, I don't want anything, she'll still go out and get something because she loves me, because she loves her children. So it's like you offer different things. You can embrace them if it's appropriate. You can pat them on the back. You can do all kinds of things to express your loving kindness, both in public and in private. And as he says, this principle of cordiality creates love and respect. One feels respected, one feels loved, one feels the love going out from them, the respect that they have for each other. This conduces to cohesion, to non-dispute, to concord, and to unity. Again, a bhikkhu maintains verbal acts of loving kindness, both in public and in private, towards his companions in the holy life. This too is a principle of cordiality that creates love and respect and conduces to unity. Verbal acts of loving kindness. Hey, I like what you said about that person over there, or I like what you said here, or, this shirt looks great on you, or you have a great smile, or whatever it is, just words of support. Things that are genuine, just an expression of gratitude towards someone, an expression of appreciation, an expression of seeing the good that they do, seeing the good that they are, is also a verbal act of loving kindness. Again, one maintains mental acts of loving kindness, both in public and in private, towards his companions in the holy life. This too is a principle of cordiality that creates love and respect and conduces to unity. Mental acts of loving kindness. When you think about them, you don't have any ill will towards that person. You think good thoughts about that person and good thoughts for that person. There is no enmity, there's no jealousy, there's no insecurity. There's just an appreciation for this person because you have loving kindness. The perfection of loving kindness, as the Buddha says, is the complete disappearance of non-ill will. Again, a bhikkhu uses things in common with his virtuous companions in the holy life. Without making reservations, he shares with them any kind of a gain that accords with the Dhamma and has been attained in a way that accords with the Dhamma, including even the mere contents of his bowl. This too is a principle of cordiality that creates love and respect and conduces to unity. You should see when I'm out with my friends, especially like when I'm out with David and Kirsten. I'm no longer in Dhamma Sukha, as you can see, but when I'm out at lunch or dinner with them, we're constantly always like, hey, try this piece of food, try this. So we're always offering whatever we have from our plate to the other person's plate, and we're always sharing food. Right, so one shares any kind of gain that accords with the Dhamma, which means what? That was lawfully gained. That wasn't gained through any kind of ill-begotten ways, right? And that is obtained in a way that accords with the Dhamma. Same thing. So whatever it is, you're welcome to, you say to everybody, you're welcome to share it with me. Whatever it is, you don't have a sense of ownership. This isn't about being in some kind of a commune. It's about the realization that the more you're generous with people, the more comes back to you. And it's the realization that you don't really own anything, right? You don't own the clothes that you wear. You don't own your home, no matter whatever you say about home ownership. You don't own anything. These things are ultimately lent to you. Even this body made up of its 5 aggregates and 4 great elements. When this body is in disarray, when this body is in decay, it goes back into the earth. Your consciousness departs, goes somewhere else. So there is nothing that you own. There's nothing that we actually own. This sense of ownership of like, this is mine, is what creates boundaries and divisions that cause the mind to say, this is me versus them. Anybody who comes near this is threatening my sense of life. Because now, because this thing I own, it has become me. It's almost become a part of me. It's like another limb. And anybody who threatens that is threatening me. But when you have an open heart and you share with everyone, then the entire world is yours. The entire universe is yours. There is this great degree of abundance where things come to you when you need them. Again, a bhikkhu dwells both in public and in private, possessing in common with his companions in the holy life those virtues that are unbroken, untorn, unblotched, unmodeled, liberating, commended by the wise, not misapprehended, and conducive to collectedness. This, too, is a principle of cordiality that creates love and respect and conduces to unity. This is talking about the precepts. They don't break the precepts. They are mindful of their fellow companions in the holy life. They make sure that they don't have any ill will. They make sure that they don't take what is not freely given. They make sure that there is no sensual misconduct, obviously no sexual misconduct. They make sure that they are fair and equitable with everyone in whatever capacity they can be. There's no deceit going on. And obviously nobody's taking intoxicants to the point where they become belligerent. Again, a bhikkhu dwells both in public and in private, possessing in common with his companions in the holy life that view that is noble and emancipating, and leads one who practices in accordance with it to the complete destruction of suffering. This too is a principle of cordiality that creates love and respect and conduces to cohesion, to non-dispute, to concord, and to unity. What is that view that is noble and emancipating, that leads one who practices in accordance with it to the complete destruction of suffering? Right view. There is the mundane right view, which is essentially the realization and understanding of karma. The realization and understanding of that there are these actions and consequences. There is a meaning in giving. There's a meaning in generosity. There's a meaning in what is offered and sacrificed. That there is mother and father. That there is a cause and effect and conditionality to everything that arises, including our own lives. That there are those Brahmins and teachers and ascetics who have practiced this and know a thing or two, and that we can learn from them. And then this view that is noble and emancipating is the super mundane right view, and that is the view of the 4 noble truths. The complete realization and understanding of suffering, the knowledge of abandoning that which causes and conditions suffering, and therefore the realization and experiencing of nirodha, dukkha nirodha, cessation of suffering, through the cultivation and practice of the Eightfold Path, which is the 4th noble truth. These are the 6 principles of cordiality that create love and respect and conduce to cohesion, to non-dispute, to concord, and to unity. Of these 6 principles of cordiality, the chief, the most cohesive, the most unifying is this view that is noble and emancipating, and which leads the one who practices in accordance with it the destruction of suffering. Of these 6 principles of cordiality, the chief is this view that is noble and emancipating. Right? So the Buddha is saying we have loving kindness, acts of loving kindness in the mind, in speech, in the body. We share with every, and we also, but then of all of these, the most cohesive, the most unifying is this view. Because if everybody is following this view, then it takes care of the rest. It's through the realization of this view, it's through the cultivation of this view that loving kindness can be arisen, that there can be generosity, that one keeps the precepts. And how does this view that is noble and emancipating lead one who practices in accordance with it to the complete destruction of suffering? Here, a bhikkhu gone to the forest or to the root of a tree or to an empty hut or to Dhamma considers thus: is there any obsession of unabandoned in myself that might so obsess my mind that I cannot know or see things as they actually are? So important. What is this? This is using the 6 R's. This is realizing what is present in my mind. It is the utility of right effort and right mindfulness. Right effort being first step, recognizing, which leads to the cohesion of mindfulness. Is there present in me any of these states? Right? If a bhikkhu is obsessed by sensual lust, then his mind is obsessed. If he is obsessed by ill will, then his mind is obsessed. If he is obsessed by sloth and torpor, then his mind is obsessed. If he is obsessed by restlessness and remorse, then his mind is obsessed. If he is obsessed by doubt, then his mind is obsessed. If he is if he is absorbed in speculation about this world, then his mind is obsessed. So, the 5 hindrances. If your mind has that, then your mind is obsessed. Your mind has craving. If he's absorbed in the speculation about the other world, then his mind is obsessed. So, speculation about what's going on in this world. What happens when we die? What happens in the next world? Becoming more obsessed about that. If one takes to quarreling and brawling and is deep in dispute, stabbing others with verbal daggers, then his mind is obsessed. Likewise, he understands thus, there is no obsession unabandoned in myself that might so obsess my mind that I cannot know and see things as they actually are. What does that mean? That I cannot see things as they actually are. Yata buddha jnana dasanam. But in this case, my mind is well disposed for awakening to the truths. My mind is well disposed for insight to arise, for wisdom to arise, for the realization and establishing of the 4 Noble Truths to arise. This is the first knowledge obtained by him that is noble, supermundane, and not shared by ordinary people. Now we're talking about stream entry. So he has let go of the hindrances, and his mind becomes collected, and he knows his mind is well disposed towards the awakening of the truths, or awakening to the truths. Again, a noble disciple considers this. An Arya Sravaka, a noble disciple, is a stream enterer. Notice that he talks about a bhikkhu, and then it shifts to a noble disciple, meaning he has become a stream enterer. When I pursue, develop, and cultivate this view, do I personally obtain serenity? Do I personally obtain quenching? So when I cultivate and understand this view, and when I adopt this view, when I bring this view as my perspective in everything with relation to the 4 Noble Truths, do I personally obtain serenity? Do I have samatha? Do I personally obtain quenching? Is my mind free of craving in that moment? He understands thus, when I pursue, develop, and cultivate this view, I personally obtain serenity. I personally obtain quenching. This is the second knowledge obtained by him that is noble, supermundane, not shared by ordinary people. Again, a noble disciple considers thus, is there any other recluse or Brahmin outside the Buddha's dispensation possessed of a view such as I possess? This is a very interesting one. It says, he understands thus, there is no other recluse or Brahmin outside the Buddha's dispensation possessed of a view such as I possess. So in other words, he knows and sees what is it that differentiates the Dhamma from all other Dhammas. What is it that differentiates this Dhamma, the Buddha Dhamma, with other Dhammas? It is the realization of the emptiness of self. Because in other Dhammas, there's ethics. In other Dhammas, there is meditation. In other Dhammas, there is even the jhanas, whatever way they do it. There is the realization of certain truths, but not the Four Noble Truths. Not the realization of the emptiness of self. This is what separates the teachings of the Buddha with other philosophies. This is the third knowledge attained by him that is noble, supramundane, not shared by ordinary people. Again, a noble disciple considers thus: do I possess the character, the qualities of a person who possesses right view? What is the character of one who possesses right view? This is the character of one who possesses right view. Although he may commit some kind of offense for which a means of rehabilitation has been laid down, still at once he confesses, reveals, and discloses it to the teacher or to wise companions of the holy life. And having done that, he enters upon restraint for the future. So in other words, this right here says, a stream enterer still can break precepts. But they've got Jiminy Cricket on their shoulder telling them, you shouldn't be doing that. Are you sure you want to do that? And when they do that, they feel awful about it. Immediately, they're like, I should not have done that. Immediately, they forgive themselves, and they might go and tell someone, confess, and say, okay, don't do it again. And that's it. Just as a young, tender infant lying prone once draws back when he puts his hands or his foot on a live coal, so too, that is the character of a person who possesses right view. He understands thus, I possess the character of a person who possesses right view. This is the fourth obtained by him, that is noble, supramundane, not shared by ordinary of a person who possesses right view. And what is a character? What is the quality of that? Although he may be active in various matters for his companions in the holy life, yet he has a keen regard for training in the higher virtue, training in the higher mind, and training in the higher wisdom. What is this referring to?
Yeah, higher virtue.
Okay. So what I was saying is, look, you may be busy with a bunch of things. You may still have admin work to do at Dhamma Sukha. You may have other things to do, but you give time to your practice. You give time to the cultivation of the path. So he still has a keen regard for training in the higher virtue, keeping the precepts, taking the precepts every day, training in the higher mind, making sure you're in samadhi whenever you can be, training in jhana, going towards cessation, cultivating and training the higher wisdom, studying and realizing for yourself dependent origination, and the realization of the emptiness of self. Just as a cow with a new calf, while she grazes watching her calf, so too that is the character of a person who possesses right view, which means what? She grazes, she's doing her stuff, but she's still mindful and aware of the new calf. So you do your work, you do what needs to be done in terms of your practical work and everything, but your mind is still centered around the practice. Too many people, when they get off retreat, they don't do this. They think they just have to keep the precepts, the 5 precepts while they're on retreat. Actually, they keep 8. But they think, oh, the precepts are just the precepts. And then they go back and they drink and they do all kinds of nonsense. And they come back and they're like, I don't know what happened. Or they meditate great at the retreat. And then I had one person who told me that they hadn't meditated all year long. What are you doing on retreat then? The whole point is for you to keep this a lifelong practice. You need to, if you can't spend even 30 minutes to an hour in meditation, don't come on retreat. You don't deserve to be on retreat. You need to have cultivation of the practice no matter what. And if you can't do that, then this path isn't for you. You need the dedication. And you need better time management. Enough said. He understands thus, I possess the character of a person who possesses right view. This is the fifth knowledge attained by him that is noble, supermundane, not shared by ordinary people. Again, a noble disciple considers thus, do I possess the strength of a person who possesses right view? What is the strength of one who possesses right view? This is the strength of a person who possesses right view. When the Dhamma and discipline proclaimed by the Tathagata is being taught, he heeds it, he gives it attention, engages it with all his mind, hears the Dhamma as with eager ears. 98% of the people who come on retreat and are listening to a Dhamma talk do that. Same with these Sunday Sutta sessions. There's always the 2%. You think they're listening, but they're not actually listening. Their mind is wandering off somewhere else. Or worse yet, they're falling asleep. Sometimes you can even hear them snoring. He understands thus, I possess the strength of a person who possesses right view. This is the sixth knowledge attained by him that is noble, supermundane, not shared by ordinary people. Again, a noble disciple considers thus, do I possess the strength of one who possesses right view? This is one strength of one who possesses right view. When the Dhamma and discipline proclaimed by the Tathagata is being taught, he gains inspiration in the meaning, gains inspiration in the Dhamma, gains gladness connected with the Dhamma. So when you are listening intently to what is being said with relation to the suttas, with relation to somebody giving a Dhamma talk, you will feel the fire of the Dhamma in your heart. You will feel this gladness in the Dhamma. You will feel excited about the Dhamma. You will feel like, yeah, I'm going to go and sit and practice now. He understands thus, I possess the strength of a person who possesses right view. This is the seventh knowledge attained by him that is noble, supermundane, not shared by ordinary people. When a noble disciple is thus possessed of 7 factors, he has well sought the character for realization of the fruit of stream entry. When a noble disciple is thus possessed of 7 factors, he possesses the fruit of stream entry, not before that. That is what the Blessed One said. The bhikkhus were satisfied and delighted in the Blessed One's words. Okay. I think that's it for today. I'm going to share some merit with you guys. May suffering ones be suffering free, and the fear-struck fearless be. May the grieving shed all grief, and may all beings find relief. May all beings share this merit that we have thus acquired for the acquisition of all kinds of happiness. May beings inhabiting space and earth, devas and nagas of mighty power, share this merit of ours. May they long protect the Buddha's dispensation. Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu.